Hi everyone, it's Jan Guarino, Fearless Watercolors. I'm really happy you're here for our fourth in our workshop of flowers, and today we're doing roses. And so the things that I'd like for you to have ready are your two spray bottles, your mister, the light one, the little one here, and your dot sprayer. So I'll just explain, a dot sprayer is a little different. It kind of spurts out the water instead of misting it. So it's a very different, type of experience. And we're going to probably play with both of those today. And all right, well, let's switch cameras and get started. All right, this is what we're doing today. And the way that I want to think about approaching it, nothing is masked, although there are some beautiful whites here, right? What I'd like for you to do is think about, I'm going to be starting with my number 10. This is just like my favorite brush lately. Actually, it's been for a long time. Is to think about where, as we're putting our water down, leaving little sparky whites. So if I were to just go a little closer for you, then you could see these little whites. In the contour drawing, I did sort of give you these different shapes and whatnot, but and that, I don't want you to have to worry about putting it down, the water down and the mist down, but I think it'd be nice to do it in a way where maybe we save some of those whites a little bit in our approach of this. So there's two ways to go here. We could mist our paper, and I would be not misting the whole thing, but just spots of it. You could dot spray your paper. So let's try it this way. Let's try dot spray. Remember to, let me put this into the video a little bit. When you have your dot sprayer, what you want to do is you want to just pump it a little bit in your water bowl until it builds up a little bit of resistance. And then it sort of pops out a little spurty. And what I'm going to do is hit a little, just on the flowers, the roses, a little spurt. And in the background, I'm going to hit it more of a mist. So maybe in like the four corners. And of course it overlaps a little bit, but that's, and what this does is it just gives us a chance to have a soft background and even soft flowers, right? So the colors that I'm going to be using, and oh good, you can see that sheen a little bit with that overhead lamp I have going on, which is good. I'm going to be starting with a color that I love, my Verzino Violet. And so I'm just going to start by putting some of these marks down in sort of a shape like that. I'm not really following my marks all that much just yet. And you'll notice that there are things spreading out already. And because there's areas that are misted. If you missed an area of misting, like I did up in this corner, I kind of didn't mist it. I could see it. I just wanted to sort of spread out because some of these are going to be looser than other ones. You can see I splattered. Hardly a problem. But I'm intentionally going to leave some whites. And if you don't have enough spray on it, just hit it again and let it sort of move and just go outside any lines. These lines are not to control you, they're to free you. They're freedom lines. They're just about finding ways that, yeah, you've got this. You've got those lines. You know where we're going to go with it. And we just have to, go beyond the lines and just keep it very soft because we're going to be building these. So fall outside of the area, then that's okay, right? It doesn't really matter. We're not looking to stay within any lines or anything like that. I like the idea of some of this pink just going into the green areas and letting the mist sprayer and the dot sprayer take our flowers into these different types of directions. And
Which
so
sprayer are we supposed to be using?
I'm using both, actually. I used the dot sprayer on the inside of the roses, and I used the mister on the outside of them. So I used both.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. It's pretty wet. My paper is pretty wet right now. I'm just going to go in and charge up a couple little spots with a little extra in some of these little areas. Again, I'm not staying within any lines right now. I'm just letting it go. Okay. I'm just letting it go. And I'm only using the Verzino Violet. If you don't have Verzino Violet, use any pink that you have, just use your pinks. You also can use your deep red. Your deep red has kind of a cherry color to it. So you can go into and drop in, because it's so wet, you could just find little areas that maybe you want to drop in a little bit of your deep red. The lighter red will be more of an orangey kind of color, right? And so the deep red will be a little bit deeper. And while all this, I mean, it really is, I'm just, my colors are just spreading out. Oh, let me move that all over. I'm going to go ahead and add some of my greens right now, because it's a good time. It's wet, and it's a good time for it to, sort of all kind of take hold and be a part of the painting. So I'm just going to add some of that right now. And if you have to go back in and either, whichever one you prefer, whether you prefer your mister or you prefer your dot sprayer, use them both, because they both do very different things. And so I'm just going to now see it's dry there, so it didn't move. So I could use my dot sprayer or my mister to get see what my mister did? Very different. That just pulled that color in
What
such
color green, Jan? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Cascade.
Okay, thank you.
I'm using Cascade. Okay, so the paper's dry and it's a little warmer out today. So interior inside here is a little bit, a little warmer. And I'm just, again, this will also help us get a little bit of background, and then we will build these other shapes. So it's just a way in which to get us some color, and don't worry about staying in any lines, because these colors, let me move this light a little bit. Look at how these colors are just, the mister just takes it and says, oh, move it around, move it around. And that's where we're going to start, is in this space right here. And we're going to build out from here. So if any of your color gets a little bit beyond your paper, I think that's nice, because it gives it a little bit of atmosphere. The photo that we're using was taken on a white silhouette background. And that's lovely, but we want, I want a little bit more of that than just a white background. So I'm just looking to have this be a little bit more expressive. So we're using this as our inspiration, but we're not having it limit us.
Jan, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you're using the that green. When you do the leaves, are you going to do the leaves, the buds, are you going to do them in that same type green, or that lime green?
Yeah, I think my thinking is I want to use more than just this one color. It's a good question. Where I'm going to go with it, I don't know. I mean, so let's say we wanted to go with a lighter green. Well, go ahead and drop a little bit of that. This is the Holbein leaf green. Go ahead and drop some in. I mean, yeah, I think that was definitely a place where I was going to go, and I want to go there. I just started with the one, but I think it's nice to have multiple greens going on. I think that's perfect. I'm just tapping a little bit of, because it's wet, it will soften all of these marks really nicely. All of these marks will dry really, really softly. And I'm just going to charge up. So when I say charge up, what I mean is that I'm just going into some of these areas while it's wet and just saying, I'm going to give you a little bit more color. I'm going to just have you move a little bit more, and then we're going to get into more of the more tighter marks that I want to make, for lack of a better word. I definitely want to go tighter with a lot of these marks. But this is where I'm at, guys, and I think it feels light and fresh, and and you know, I'm happy. I love the turquoise that's coming out of the Cascade green. That's just one of the most beautiful benefits of letting that color explode on your paper. You know, and I say this all the time, but I'm just going to say it because it just is so worth repeating. If you let it, watercolors paint themselves. Now, of course, we could just do these with so much control and so much detail, but to me, finding ways for watercolors to be watercolors is what I want my watercolors to be all about. And so when I see things like this happening, I just want more of that. I just, you know, that's just what I want, at least underneath my paintings to have, and then building some beautiful sharper marks on top of it. But this is really an opportunity for us to just play with our watercolors and let them be completely and totally free to do what they will do if you let them do it. and that's just the truth. I mean, if you let them, these paints paint themselves. So this is still wet. You could see that these colors, these marks that I'm making are just melting right around and down into the water. And I'm just going to stop right there and let you guys just sort of, you know, build your paintings to that point. Okay, this is pretty much full frame right here. That's all I have. And what I will say is what I always say, and that is, if we stopped right now, wouldn't we all know what this was? So I find that so often the answer to me, if I want to go further, is to say, well, how much more do I need to say the message I wanted to say? So I'm already happy with what I have, but of course, there's a lot more we're going to say, and we're going to go ahead and do that. In this commercial, I just wanted to show you one idea, and that is, while it's still wet, you may like some of these flowers to go a little yellowier or a little orangier. And so, you know, feel free to drop a little extra orange or yellow in some of them. Maybe they're a little peach color. You know, roses are rarely one color, you know, so feel free to just play around with your colors and go just beyond pink. And I know that the image isn't that, but believe me, it'll make it so much more interesting. So I just wanted to share that with you. Okay. So parts of mine are dry and parts aren't. And I was thinking of using a hair dryer, but now I'm thinking different. And I'll tell you why. I'm really thinking that it could be totally fun. Okay, and maybe you'll take that trip with me, is that if there's an area that's still damp or wet, that it's just meant to blossom at that point. And if it's dry, we're going to take that mark and do something with it. So that's the journey I'm going to go on, and I'm not going to dry it. I thought I was, but I like the idea of taking it on a journey of, I don't know what's going to happen instead. So now I can still see all of my pencil marks. They're light, they're not heavy, but I still see them. And I'm going to have a couple of brushes ready. I'm going to have my number 10, my number 6, and my 4 ready, along with my rigger. Okay, so those are the 4 sizes that I'm going to have readily available to me. And what I want to do is, now I'm going to reference the photo a little tighter and my marks a little tighter by going in and with more color and more shape finding. So for instance, right here, I'll go a little closer for you. So right here, I can see that. And if I look at the photo, there's sort of like a V shape right there. And there's another little spot there and there. And that's how we can do these so easily. Okay. And I'm using my cherry red, my dark red right now. I'm not using my pink. And what I gave you with your contour drawing was all these interesting shapes that we can use or not use. You know, that's sort of up to you if you want to, you know, build these. If any of your marks you want to soften, just take your brush and just go a little softer and let the color just sort of gently fold away into the petal. Okay. I'm going to do a few of these. I'm just going to do this one rose. I didn't do the one that was off to the all the way to the left. I'm doing the second one there because the one that's off to the left is a little bit looser and softer and blurry. It's out of focus, right? So I'm going to do this rose, and then I want to back out and sort of show you how it all came together. And of course, I love the whites that kind of happened as a result. And guess what, guys? If your red inside of here is not dark enough, go with any violet. I have the Mamari violet that gives me a nice warm violet color, and it just pops it up that much more. So you can absolutely go ahead and utilize something like that. So just think of the color wheel. And so go ahead and utilize that ability so that you have the deeper red, or you have, the deep red, or you can even go with a warm violet shape. And then all of these little marks that I gave you in the contour, you can go ahead and build out from them. And you could actually go back to the whatever pink you used as well. So these are all, they could soften these edges. You could go really very tight with these edges. You can do anything you want. And so to get to this point, what I'd like for you to do is consider noticing your photograph a little bit tighter. Okay, a little bit more. So let me back out and show you how quickly that starts looking like a rose by using all of those shapes. And that gives you a lot of opportunity to really go in and find some beautiful rose petal pieces. And like I said, I'm going to trust that if the paper's still wet, it simply is meant to soften. I'm just going with that, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So maybe you'll go on that trip with me, because I have a lot of white petals going on. And generally I'll say to you to, be careful of a damp paper. But in this case, a damp paper might actually work to your benefit in a really nice way. Because a damp, when your paper's damp, what happens is that you get unexpected results. And that's kind of what we're going for here, right? Is sort of these unexpected results that we don't know what's going to happen. Certainly when we put our water down and our mister and all of those different things, that's giving us some results that we cannot necessarily control. And then we can make those sharper marks that we can control. I gave all the marks to you in your contour. And if you want to follow those now, you absolutely, positively can do that. So this is how I'm just going to, so that's that first rose. And you know what? Part of me just feels I just need to let it rest and see what happens with it and move on to another one. I'm just going to say it. Don't kill the rose with love. We just need to, let it sort of happen, dry, and move on to another rose. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move to that top one. I'll go a little closer so you could, see how I'm finding my marks. This is really wet. So there's spots that are super wet and there's spots that are very dry. And I'm just going to use all of that. That just spread out. That purple violet just moved so beautifully into a soft edge because that's wet there. And if you want some of that experience, you can hit your page, your paper, with a little bit of a dot sprayer if you wanted that to happen. See how that's just spreading out for me because it's wet. And these are I'm using my Mamari colors right now. And the reason why I I have them is because I've noticed that when I use them, they kind of spread a little bit more than other brands. So when I say Mamari's Move, I'm not kidding. I used the Verzino Violet, my deep red, permanent deep red, I think it's called, and my violet reddish. Those are three of my Mamari colors. And it really does, it's just, they move. Mamari's Move. It's just whatever is inherent in their chemistry of what they make. They just give you a beautiful opportunity to have the paint move within a water. And if you need to, just give it a little bit of water on the outside or whatever, So if it's dry, you could just give it a little bit of water and let it move itself, So you always have that really great option of having a strong mark or a soft mark. And I love the watercolors that sort of have both in them, right? It shows command of the medium. And I just love that. So I'm using my rigger right now. And I'll just back out and start showing you where I'm going with this. I'll go a little closer and I'll just go to another rose and show you a little bit more. And so I'm not overworking any one of them. I'm just, it's a building that I'm going to be doing that has to happen a little at a time. And by the way, because our Cascade Green broke into blue, if you wanted to add a little bit of blue to some of the under petals, like I just did right here, you're going to be fine with that also. So we are really using a very wide spectrum of our of colors in here. So this one is pretty much all dry. So I'm just going to work, with that, and I'll just show you how I would do that. So this is just my Verzino Violet. If I wanted to go a little darker, I could use my deep red, which I just added in there. And I am observing the marks that I made, plus the photo that I were working off of. Doing a little bit of both. And finding these beautiful little shapes in between each of those petals. And I like I said, I do not think this is the last pass that I'm giving on any of these. I just, want to get the next layer down. And that's what we're doing, is we're just getting the next layer down. And of course, we could totally make these beautiful botanical with great perfection. You're each able to do that. I like the freedom of having it be loose and fun like this, and then saying, okay, let's find some really great pieces that we can go in and really find a way in which to make it a little bit more realistic or a little bit more accurate. Those things are things that we could do at any time on top of this. And that's what I was looking to do. And by the way, I like that little orangey yellow that I kind of put on underneath it. That really, it's just sparking it up a little bit. And I like that. So again, I'm using my deep red and my Verzino Violet. And on the bottom, I like the idea of adding a little bit of that cerulean blue just to cool down as if it's in shadow. And of course, the blue and the pink, that'll give us a nice violet color. We'll never get mud with that, right? That'll never happen. Those two colors do not make mud. Let me back out and show you where I'm at. And they're starting to look like roses from this, to these, it just requires a little bit more, a little bit more pieces, a little bit more layers on top of it. So I'm going to go to the one in the lower right now. Got my rigger, working with that, just finding the beautiful shapes. And with the rigger, and I've mentioned this to you guys before, is I could be on the tip of it or I could be on the side of it. And it gives me some really great little shapes that that a round might overly control. So this gives me a little bit of freedom within that, of a little lack of control, but also some beautiful marks. So just like I let the paint do the work. Here I'm relying on my brush doing some of the work to see if I like what's happening with it. If I don't like it, I can change the mark, right? But generally speaking, to try to find like a good shape, and if it gives it to you, well, how great is that? The brush and the paint both gave you a good mark. So that's where you start kind of trusting that process a little bit more. And the more that you play with these concepts, it just starts becoming more second nature, and you have more accessible when you are painting. And I'm dropping a little bit more blue in this one because this one is sort of, more a little bit tucked away and more of a shadow. So I'm just letting those colors sort of play a little bit into themselves. And I've got some nice whites sparkling up. Of course, if you have too many whites, you could tone them down a little bit. And there's just a point where you just want to be sure that your paper, don't overwork any one of them, because we're going to go back into every single one of them and do a little bit more. That's just what we're going to be doing. So, and I'm just going to work this loose one a little bit, but I want to keep it soft, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to spray it a little bit, and it's probably a little bit too much spray, but I just want the paper a little wet so that when I work it, it keeps it out of focus. And all these marks are going to go soft. You got to see this. It's just so beautiful what's happening because the paper's wet, but it's not soaking wet, because I did lift a little bit off. It got a little too puddly. But all the colors are just going very, very soft. And that throws it out of focus. And that's such a nice thing to explore also, is how you could let things go soft and let marks go soft, and still you'll know what it is. And I got some of the turquoise from the green, the Cascade green in that one, which came out pretty nice. So, and you always sort of know the center of a rose. It's like a little bit more color, a little richer, a little darker, right? So, you could find little opportunities to drop a little bit more color into any of the centers. And now I feel that this is just enough color that I'm not done, but it's enough color right now for me to want to wait and see and add the next layer. So in this case, I would probably stop here, and because I feel it needs another layer of color, but I don't want to overwork it, and I want it to dry and see what happens. This is where I would say maybe we go into some of the leaves or the buds that are there, right? So I think that that's a nice thing that we could do too. So that's where I want to go next. So don't judge it. There's a point in every painting that really means you just have a hot mess. Don't worry about it. We're going to build it, and we're going to start with some of these beautiful buds. And so ignore where the paint might have gotten outside of the line before. This is my Cascade green. And now I'm going to paint. I'm going to follow some of those lines that I gave you, right? So now I'm going to just follow some of these beautiful bud shapes and start letting them speak a little bit louder. Okay, this is my Holbein leaf green. It plays beautifully with Cascade green, just beautiful. Okay, so just again, I'm using my rigger, and I'm just starting to build this one little bud here, and the stem. And again, this is just my first pass, other than what we did with the background, which was, real loose and whatnot. I'm really just letting these colors just kind of happen on their own. And you may find that you want to do a little bit of reverse definition. So what I mean by that is, and I'll go a little closer to just show you, I'm painting this bud, this bud that's coming out here, the green bud, right? But by going around these petals of the flower that's in the left side, right, I'm starting to define that petal a little bit more. Okay, so I'm doing a little bit of both at the same time. Whoops, go the wrong way, Jan. Okay, there we go. And let me back out and just show you that this, by painting back here, I'm pushing this petal forward a little bit, okay? And again, I don't really consider any of these marks that I'm making my final marks. And guess what? That kind of takes the pressure off of saying, okay, I'm not done. Right, I'm not done. Remember, I'm not done. I have to do more. Okay. I'm going to go in and do the next bud, the middle one, the one that's smack in the middle there. And now I am paying a little closer attention to my marks. I like having the marks. I like knowing that my composition is there and I am able to follow along if I want to. It's sort of a little bit of a freedom in knowing that it's there, and also kind of cool knowing you don't have to stay within that. It's a little bit of both. It gives you a little bit of confidence. Now this one is on top of this rosebud, so I'm going to put it on top of it. And there's a little bit of pink peeking through, so I'm just going to drop a little bit of pink. If you don't have any in there, I kind of don't, so I'm just going to drop a little bit of pink in there just to merge and blend and float right into that green area. And I'm just playing with my two greens, my Holbein leaf green, which is a beautiful light spring green. I love that green. Yeah, you could make greens. I know you could always make greens, but somehow I just like having these greens in my tool chest, you know? They just make me really happy, and I like knowing that they're there for me to utilize, and I don't have to go mixing them. It's like my violets. I know we make violet. I use that to my benefit when I am looking for it to go warmer or cooler or whatever you want. I'll use that to my benefit in terms of saying, oh, I could add a little blue, or I could add a little bit of yellow or red or any color to a color that you're making, and know that it's either going to, charge it up and make it look a little bit more of that color, cool it down, or find that it's the complement. Like I love using all of those options at my disposal. So you can see here again, that color of the Cascade Green, I use that to find my the edge of this petal, this upper flower here. And see, by doing this and getting away from our flowers just a little bit, we're now finding that we, we're starting to find out what do we need, what more do we need in terms of our petals, our flowers. We might not need as much as you thought you did. Maybe it's looking a little bit more like making yourself happy. Let's see. If not, we'll get there. Not every petal has to be done with extreme precision. You know, they could be very soft and flowy. And just what you can think about doing in spots is what happened here, which was it's a lost edge. You just lost the edge. Everything does not have to be a hard edge. It's kind of really beautiful to utilize that. This right here, guys, let me go closer. This is a lost edge right here. So you have enough of the shape of the leaf to know it's a leaf, but it just goes off. It just softens, and I don't even need to do the rest of it because it's all enough information is there. And so the idea of using these lost edges is just a beautiful way to paint and utilize your watercolors, right? Now, in my case here, I'll show you, there's a little bit of pink that came through from my initial wash. Well, that's just perfect. I love that that happened. So I actually don't even have to add it because it is really, really a nice idea, guys, to even in some of these leaf areas, to drop a little pink in. Just find little opportunities, even if it's not there. Just drop a little pink into your greens. It's such a beautiful way to have your colors speak up, and your painting to be so painterly, right? Just so painterly. And, you know, it takes a little bit of practice but finding your style is how you, it's sort of what comes first, being painterly or having a style. And of course, there's no one thing coming first or second. Your style starts coming as you start expressing yourself more as a painter. So it's a little bit of both. You find your style, and as you build the confidence, you start finding ways to be more painterly, and even more of your style kind of comes out then. Show you where I'm at. Find ways to just blend those colors. And you know, it's not a bad thing right now. I'm just looking, and I think it would be really nice to introduce a little bit of my indigo. This is my other Mamari color into some of these areas just a little bit. I want to start introducing, we did add a little blue before, so I just want to find some nice little areas to maybe just drop a little bit of indigo, because what I'm starting to do now is thinking of my darks. Just a little bit. Really not going all that dark with it. I'm just dropping some color in and letting it sort of move a little bit on its own. Because that indigo goes so beautifully with the pink and the green. It's just a great color that goes with so well with all of it. I am not done with my roses, so don't think I am, because I am not. I want to do more to them, and even maybe some of my petals. Now that everything is more on the dry side, what I want to do is really go in and start defining some more of the shapes. So what you would do is you would grab your fine brush, I'm using my rigger, and going in with a lot more paint and a lot less water, and just finding a lot more of the shapes, as many as you feel you want to define. And for each of us, I think it's going to be a little different, depending on how many we've made already and how many more we want. So there's a couple of different ideas going on here. One is that the color, the deepest color, is sort of on the inside of the flower and on the inside of the petal. So what I would do is I would add, like, let's say this petal right here, I want to paint, I want that to pop out, right? So what I would do is I would paint the inside of here, and then take my brush and just feather it very softly into the other areas. So you can take this and find any little spot right in there, and just, now I take my brush, and without any paint or water on it, just a damp brush, I'm just giving it enough of an opportunity to move into the water. And so you can find any of these shapes at all that you want from the center. The center is going to be your darkest part, and as they come out. And so this is now yet my third pass with, like, I'm just starting with this one flower here. So you could see that it does take, again, depending on how precise you want to be with this, how descriptive you want your roses to be. I mean, I'm looking at some of these and I'm like, well, I could probably let them go as they are, but I want to show you how to go a little bit further on top of some of these marks, right? And those were the kinds of marks that I gave you with the contour, were marks that would let you do this kind of building this. And as I build it, you could start seeing even more opportunities, observing, of course, your photograph, and then where you are with your image. And you know what, if you're a little lost, yeah, I mean, that's okay too, because you have your marks and you could build up and find new ones that you sort of want to make. And so I am doing this feathering in a lot of these places to pop out some of the petals. There's enough underpainting going on that you could now have the next step, which is these nice opportunities to feather these out. So I'm going after those same basic shapes that I gave you that we have on there underneath there, and just building those extra little dark spots, and then feathering it out, letting it move. Lots of great opportunities to do this with all our colors. The violets and the pinks and the reds. Because, the water and, doing it the way we did it before with so much water, we did lose a lot of our color. So this is why building it a little bit extra really helps the painting so much. Whenever I'm doing work like this, I just always think of the hard mark and then the softening of it. Do I want to soften it? Where do I want it to go? And you could see how it's starting to come around. So a lot less water and a lot more paint. There's some great little dark marks in every little spot. And, you don't have to do them all, but, do the ones that you sort of feel speak to you. Look at your painting, stand back from it and see which ones do you feel that it needs. It might not need all of them, but, that's sort of your call on your painting is how much do you want to do. And the very center really does get some of the sharpest, darkest marks, I think. And really, we're not really painting roses. We're painting the shapes that the shadows of all these petals are creating. That's really what we're painting. So if you think about it that way, you paint those shapes, you're going to get the rose. So I'm using my violet, my deep red, and my Verzino to sort of build all of these a little bit darker, a little bit richer, a little bit more shape, and a little bit more depth. Just taking my other brush and just softening some of the edges a little bit, just so that they kind of feather out. And you could see why a few passes really does help so much, rather than feeling you need to finish every rose before you move on. It really helps to let it settle and then go back into it. And now that we're adding more details to the roses, I want to add more details to the buds and the leaves. It's totally making me want to do that. That's why I never want to finish one part of a painting before I move on. I like to move around because they all need to work together and not be individual pieces, but be together, to come together. As a painting, you know, they need to come together as a painting. By the way, I stopped at the grist mill last weekend, and the wisteria is just about ready to start blooming. It was just on the cusp. So I'd imagine this weekend is going to be full bloom. Just feathering some of these marks, and it's all starting to look, well, if we didn't know it's a rose by now, they don't live on planet Earth. Makes me want to do more on the buds now. Just sort of take them to the next level. Have some of those beautiful little details, you know, like how the points kind of come and just do something beautiful. Little illustrative, maybe. have some fun with it. Just let them just speak to you, you know. All these beautiful shapes. And I'm totally feeling like I really want to go back in and add some indigo to finish this off. So that's what I'm going to do as my final sort of marks, is just some indigo to really build some darks and have it be really crisp.
Don't seem to be any thorns.
Yeah, you're right. There aren't any. I guess they have thornless roses, unless they took them off. Although my roses do
They
have.
took them off. They use a thorn remover.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, you gals know. Good observation and good knowledge. Excellent. So I'm going to go in with a little bit of indigo. Going to feather that into some of these other shapes here. Look at how that just made that flower pop. I'm not going to do it everywhere, but in a couple little spots, I really like the idea of just it being kind of present and then feathering it around. This area right here, I kind of like it being light, but I think I need to push that dark a little bit beyond that. So I could add a little bit in here, I think. I think where you add your indigo is going to be, you know, a little different for each of us. Just using my number 10 to sort of get some indigo into some of the background areas, just to pop it out a little bit. Just adding a little bit of water here, letting that color just sort of flow. And now I can charge up this corner right here to pop that rose out and let the color sort of bloom out on its own. I don't really use neutral tint much, or Payne's Gray. Just kind of like my indigo to do some of the work for me. It does a lot of heavy lifting, the indigo. It really does. So here's a perfect example of, you know, color doing a lot of the, painting here is, of course, with our colors, but having the darks finish it off for us. No surprise, not a lot of indigo left in my well. I have to fill her up. Notice I just drop it in and I just sort of let it bleed out. I just want you to see that movement. See how it's just moving here. The Memories really, really, really just do a beautiful job of just moving for you and not having to push it with your brush. So I charge it up at a certain spot, and then I let the water grab the paint and take it away. And if it isn't moving enough, tilt it. Or give it a little bit more water with your brush. So I want this to move a little bit more, so I'm just giving it feather amount of water just to have it drift away and pull away and create this really magical little background going on. I feel, I know there's only one stem there, but I really feel there should be more than one stem. I don't know how everybody else feels, but it feels a little weak that all of these roses would be coming from one stem. So maybe we add some more stems. Anybody kind of agree with that? I think it should be. Some rivers here of some other stems. I just want them to go softly in the background, so just hit it with a little bit of water. One thing we don't want to do is line those stems up like soldiers, so I'm going to cross them over a little bit. I feel like, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I feel like there should be 5 stems. These seem like really big roses to me. By the way, you notice I didn't do that much on this one here. I could go in and do a little bit more work on that one. I'll just do a little bit. I really want to keep it very soft focus. But from that first wash to here is, a bit of a journey for us. I think that's kind of pretty. I'm going to do what I love to do, which is a little bit of splatter. With my pink. And a little bit of my green. And if it comes out a little too hard for you, all you have to do is, like here, it's a little bit like a confetti. All I have to do is hit it with my sprayer and it just softens it a little bit. And if you want it to run, tilt your paper a little bit and let it actually have a little fun on your paper. Drips, all of those things to me just make a great watercolor. And if they ended up in spots that you're not happy with, just take your brush and just melt them away, melt them away. Watercolor is really meant to really be so reactive to what you do with it with water. We have roses. I kind of like the way that just skipped down like that. I love when things like that happen. I feel like maybe I need a little bit something happening on this side. So because it's wet, I'm just going to tap a little bit of pink in there. Yeah, that's pretty. I like what happened there. Carry it away. Let it just float away. To me, this is just a fun way to build backgrounds and integrate the beautiful things that this medium has to offer us. I like taking advantage of all of it, the drips and the splatters. What am I doing? I'm just letting things drip together a little bit, making it a little drippy. Why? I don't know. It's kind of just a beautiful way to use your watercolors. Like, look at these great drips here, and I kind of have a drip going there, my green going into my pink there. I feel like that's just shows the viewer that not only can I paint roses, but I can have some fun with it as well. And still, you know what it is. And you can, feel the fun that I kind of had with it. That's kind of, I don't know, I like that idea of knowing that I had fun with it and yet I'm telling a story. Just want to center it for you guys so you're looking at all four sides there. There you go. So that's today's painting of roses. I think for most of us, we have such a hard time understanding where to begin and how to get started. And this was another way to just loosen up and have some fun and just go for it and add details later as opposed to being so tight. And that's the thing that I hear the most about from people is that they are just always so tight. And so they need these kinds of ways to look at starting a painting and finishing a painting. So for a lot of people, their roses got a little too heavy. Maybe they were working too damp and they kept adding more and more and more on. So what I suggested was that you just head to the sink and literally drip off like 20 minutes of paint on your paper. And underneath there generally is a beautiful painting of which you only need to add some minute details to really bring the rose out. You just don't need as much as you think you do. And so that was a big lesson today was a lot of students that I saw, they just needed to lighten it up because they're flowers. And so it's not these heavy flowers, it's lighter, you know. All right. Well, anyway, I hope you have great success with your roses. If you do them, I would love to see them. And please always share with me what you're doing. And if I could be of any help to you at all, please let me know. Always, always, always. Until next time, it's Jan Guarino, Fearless Watercolors. See you next time. Bye now.